On March 14, 1987, in the quiet town of Hollow Creek, Oregon, the lights went out. For 3 long hours, the town was plunged into an unsettling darkness. When power was finally restored, a chilling new reality emerged. 7 people from all corners of the town had vanished. They weren't just missing, they had disappeared from locked rooms, from secure locations, without a single sign of struggle or forced entry. It was as if they had simply ceased to exist. Detective Marcus Chen, a man whose career was defined by logic and reason, found himself standing at the edge of an impossible mystery. His first stop was the home of Sarah Mitchell. Her husband, frantic with worry, explained that Sarah had gone into their bathroom to take a shower. He heard the water running, then silence. He knocked, called her name, and finally forced the door open. The bathroom was empty. The window was a tiny, unopenable pane of frosted glass high on the wall. Her clothes were folded neatly on a stool, the air still thick with steam. But Sarah Mitchell was gone. This unnerving pattern repeated itself across Hollow Creek. Officer David Armstrong vanished from his patrol car in the middle of a routine traffic stop. The driver he had pulled over, still shaken, swore he never saw the officer leave his vehicle. He just wasn't there anymore. Armstrong's citation book lay open on the passenger seat, his pen resting on the half-written ticket. His radio hissed with nothing but static. Miles away, at the town's public library, Rebecca Chen was studying for her exams. The security guard had just checked on her minutes before the blackout, seeing her engrossed in a textbook. When the lights came back on, her table was undisturbed. Her coffee was still warm, her backpack and books untouched. But Rebecca, like the others, had vanished into thin air. Back at the station, drowning in a sea of inexplicable reports, Detective Chen frantically searched for a connection, any thread that could tie these impossible events together. He listed the victims' names, their addresses, their occupations, and then he saw it, a single, chilling link. All 7 victims either worked at or had direct family ties to a single institution, Pinewood Psychiatric Hospital. The same hospital that had been abruptly and mysteriously shut down in 1986, exactly 1 year before the mass disappearance. This couldn't be a coincidence. This was a pattern, a plan. Driven by this new lead, Chen drove to the derelict Pinewood Hospital on the edge of town. The building was a skeleton, picked clean by time and neglect. He moved through the decaying halls, his flashlight beam cutting through the dust-filled darkness. In the basement, behind a false wall he almost missed, he found a hidden room. It was disturbingly clean, recently used. In the center of the room, 7 chairs with leather restraints were arranged in a perfect circle. A cold dread washed over Chen. This wasn't a random act. Someone had been planning this for a very long time. Someone who knew this building's secrets intimately. A break came from an unexpected source. Bank security footage from the night of the blackout. A lone figure, obscured by a gas mask and dark clothing, was seen moving through the town. The camera timestamps showed the figure appearing near each of the victims' locations, but the timeline made no sense. The distance between the first and last location was miles apart, a journey that should have taken over an hour on foot. This figure covered the distance in just 12 minutes. It was physically impossible, a ghost moving through the blackout. Then, another piece fell into place. The postal inspector's office confirmed that exactly 1 week before they vanished, all 7 victims had received identical anonymous letters. The message inside was short and cryptic: payment for what was done. The forensics lab delivered an even more startling discovery. The paper used for the letters wasn't ordinary. It was old hospital supply stock, specifically from the era when Pinewood was still operating. The kidnapper was leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, leading Chen right back to the abandoned hospital. Chen knew he had to dig deeper into Pinewood's dark history. He spent days poring over dusty, forgotten patient records. One file stood out from the rest. Michael Dreyfus, a former patient who had been subjected to experimental treatments back in 1982. The records were filled with his handwritten complaints, accusing the staff of abuse and neglect. Every complaint had been dismissed by the administration as a symptom of his paranoid delusions. The final entry in his file was dated 1985. Michael Dreyfus had died during one of his treatments. As the town's search parties combed the surrounding forests, a hiker stumbled upon something hidden deep in the woods, 15 miles from Hollow Creek, a concealed bunker. Inside, investigators found a makeshift command center. There were detailed maps of the town, with each victim's home and workplace circled. Their daily routines were documented in meticulous handwritten notes. Surveillance photos were pinned to the wall. Someone had been watching them for months, studying their every move, planning this down to the last second. The most disturbing discovery in the bunker was a collection of videotapes. Chen watched in horror as the grainy footage played. The 7 victims were alive. They were drugged and restrained in chairs that looked identical to the ones he'd found in the hospital basement. The kidnapper's face was never seen, always just out of frame or shrouded in shadow. But his voice was clear, a cold, steady monotone. He was interrogating them one by one, asking them questions about their time at Pinewood, forcing them to recount their actions, extracting confessions for sins long buried. Chen began re-interviewing former Pinewood staff, this time armed with new questions. A retired nurse finally broke her silence. She remembered Michael Dreyfus, the patient who died. And she remembered he wasn't the only Dreyfus at the hospital. Michael had a younger brother, Marcus, who worked there as a janitor. He wasn't a patient, but he was always there, quiet, watching. The nurse confessed that Marcus had witnessed the horrific experimental treatments, including the very one that had killed his brother. A quick check of hospital employment records confirmed the story. Marcus Dreyfus had quit his job the day after his brother Michael had died. He didn't go quietly. He filed a storm of official complaints alleging staff negligence and patient abuse. But every single one was systematically buried by the hospital administration. After that, Marcus became a ghost. He grew obsessed with exposing what he called the Pinewood conspiracy. And then, in 1986, he simply vanished. Chen followed the trail. Public records showed that 6 months before the blackout, a man using a false name had purchased the remote patch of land where the bunker was discovered. That false name was an alias Marcus Dreyfus had used in the past. Bank records painted an even clearer picture. In the months leading up to the purchase, Marcus had systematically liquidated all of his assets. His home, his savings, everything. He was erasing his old life and funding something new, something big, and something final. The case's final horrifying puzzle piece was found in a forgotten storage unit rented under Marcus Dreyfus's name. Inside, investigators found boxes filled with journals. Page after page detailed his 2-year plan. He would stage a blackout. He would use his intimate knowledge of the town and his victims' routines to abduct them. He would force them to confess their roles in his brother's death on camera. And then, he planned to disappear with them forever. It was the ultimate, all-consuming revenge. Days later, a search team found a second bunker, buried even deeper in the unforgiving wilderness. The entrance was sealed from the inside. When they finally breached the heavy steel door, they found the answer to where the 7 victims had gone. Inside were 8 bodies, the 7 victims from Hollow Creek and Marcus Dreyfus himself. The coroner's report confirmed they had all died from carbon monoxide poisoning. It was a mass murder-suicide. The final entry in Marcus's journal explained everything. He wrote that after his brother's death and the subsequent cover-up, his own life had ended. He blamed the 7 staff members not just for negligence, but for their silence. His goal was never a quick death for them. He wanted them to feel the helplessness his brother felt. He wanted to force their confessions into the light, and then he would join them in the darkness, ensuring they died together, just as his brother had died alone. The case of the Hollow Creek vanishings was officially closed, but for Detective Chen, and for the town itself, the truth offered no comfort. Only the cold, haunting reality of revenge taken to its most absolute and tragic conclusion. The Vanishing Hour case is closed, but the truth brings no comfort, only the cold reality of revenge and tragedy. This is just one of countless cold cases in our archives, some solved, many still waiting for answers. Every week we investigate another forgotten case. If you believe every victim deserves their story told, subscribe to Cold Case Chronicles Unsolved. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, share with someone who seeks truth. Together, we ensure these cases are never forgotten. Some mysteries end in darkness, but we shine light on everyone. This is Cold Case Chronicles. Unsolved. The investigation continues.